People with zero coding experience are shipping real applications to the App Store right now. This is a reality, no computer science, no degree, no bootcamp, just the right prompts, the right tools, the right process and mental model to be able to create apps and iterate. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Today, we're building a budgeting application from scratch. Now, the app idea doesn't really matter. This will apply to any application that you are building. And by the end, I'm going to show you as well how to submit your application to the App Store. This video is for those who want to leverage Claude Code to build their application. So you don't need coding experience, but here's the thing. Claude Code is going to generate the code for you. What it can do is think for you. You still need to know how to describe what you want and how to guide it when it goes off track, and how to make decisions about your application. That's what this video is really about. Hey, I'm Beto. I've been building mobile applications professionally for years for Android and iOS, and this is the exact same process I use. Let's get into it. Alright, so let's dive right in. A few prerequisites, especially if you want to deploy your application, you're gonna need, apart from a computer, you're gonna need an Apple developer account. In case this is your first time hearing about an Apple developer account, basically it's an account that you create on the developer.apple.com website, and it costs $100 per year. You have to pay this to Apple to be able to upload your applications. You also need a computer, of course. Mac is best because in case you don't quit and decide to keep iterating on your application, it's gonna be great if you actually download Xcode, which is a program developed by Apple, which includes simulators where you can run your application and tools to deploy and keep iterating on your application. But that is only available for Mac. Now that said, if you are using Windows, you can still develop your application for iOS and Android using Expo application services. That's why I added here Expo account. For those who don't know, I actually used to work at Expo as a developer success engineer, where I helped thousands of developers build real production applications, big companies we're talking about here. Expo offers free open source tools for building our application, and we're going to be using Expo. But apart from that, Expo also offers application services, and the application services include building and deploying the application for you. So we can build it in Expo. We can code and design the application using Claude Code, and then for building and deploying, we can do that in the cloud using Expo. So even if you don't have a Mac and if you don't want to download Xcode, you can still deploy your application using the cloud from Expo. And of course, you also need to have an Anthropic account. Now, let me talk a little more about the deployment before we start creating the application and iterating, because you're gonna need these things to actually deploy the application. Now, if you don't want to deploy the app, you can always come back to this video later once you are ready. You can still follow along and don't deploy the application, just keep it in development, and once you're ready, you can come back to this video and deploy it. The option one, and I would say is the one that I recommend because it's the one that has less friction at the beginning, it's using Expo. So building and deploying, that's what we want right now. Now, the advantages of using Expo is that you don't need a Mac. Even if you are creating your application on a Windows machine, you can deploy your application and build it in the cloud. It's also free to get started, like I said, but there are a couple of disadvantages. The free tier actually takes a while to build your application. So either you can pay, so it's faster, or you need to wait between, I think, 30 and in peak hours, I think it takes like 2 hours to build your application. So it takes a while if you are not paying. And then it requires to create an account. Of course, you need to go to expo.dev and create your account. I already have my account, so it's pretty easy to create an account. That's all you need. Now, the option 2 for deployment, we are talking about iOS here to the App Store. You can also deploy it using Xcode. Now, Xcode, if you open the App Store on your Mac, you can search for Xcode. Xcode is a program developed by Apple that allows you to deploy your application directly from your computer. And it's actually pretty easy to use. The only downside is that you need to download it, and it's 12 gigabytes, almost 13. But yeah, you can download it and then sign in using your Apple developer account to Xcode, and you can actually build the application. This is going to install other tools in your computer that will allow you to build the application and deploy it. Okay, next we need to install Claude Code. In case you haven't already, copy this command and then open your terminal. Your computer already comes with a terminal, so you can just search for terminal in the spotlight and this is going to bring the terminal. This is how it looks like. We make it a bit bigger for you. Just open it like this, paste the command that we copied and hit enter. This is going to install Claude Code in your computer. There we have it. Now it is installed, just like that. Now the next thing that you need to do is actually start Claude for the first time. And you can run, Claude help just to make sure that we are installing it correctly. Just paste this command here. Oops, and I'm missing a P. Let's hit enter. This will give you some commands that you can use with Claude. So for now, you can actually run a command clear to clear your terminal. This is very useful. Pro tip, by the way. Now, the next thing that you want to do is actually start Claude, right? So let's say Claude. That's it, just like that. Hit enter and say yes. Okay, by hitting enter, it's gonna have access to your files. This is why you need to provide permission. So don't worry about it. I'm just gonna allow everything. It doesn't really matter because we are not doing anything right now. And this is actually asking me for all these permissions because I'm running Claude at the root of my computer, right? The root file system. This is why it's asking for all permissions, because it now has access to everything because I ran it at the root. So this is how it looks. If this is the first time that you are opening Claude Code, you can use commands by using the slash key. So if I say slash, suddenly I get this list of commands that I can use. So first of all, you need to log in. If this is the first time that you are running Claude, just run login, then select Claude account. This is the most common one. This is going to open the website. Then you need to authorize with your account. And once you do that, you can close this window, close this as well. And then let's go back to the terminal. This is how it looks. We are logged in. Okay. So we can press escape, right? Now to stop Claude, you can press Ctrl C twice, and it should stop, right? We ended our session. So one thing to notice is that I ran Claude on my root folder, right? All right, so let's say that I want to create my application on my desktop, right? In my folder desktop, so that I know where is the folder and all the project that we're gonna be working on. So you can just come here and then go to the top bar, and then you can go to help and press and type copy. You can just click on copy desktop as path name, right? And then let's go back to the terminal and paste that in here. So we need to prefix this with cd space, right? Change directory. That means change directory to the desktop. Hit enter. So by doing that, now my terminal is pointing at my desktop. Okay. And if I press Command T, this is going to open a new window where I can also see that I'm in the desktop folder. So in my desktop, this is where I'm going to create my app. So how can we create an application? First of all, you need to install something called Node.js. So if you go to this website, Node.js, it's a program that allows you to run JavaScript on your computer. So you can scroll down and press Get Node. Scroll down and download the Mac installer, double click it, install it. I already have it, and you can confirm that you already have it by going to your terminal and doing node-b. This is going to tell you the version that you're using, hopefully 24 as me. But yeah, this is just confirming that I have it. So let's run clear again to keep things simple. So I have Node.js. That's the only prerequisite before running the following command. npx create dash expo dash. Yep. Then you can say at latest if you want to make sure that we're using the latest version. In my desktop, I'm running this command, okay? Very important. Let's hit enter. So what we're doing here is basically creating a new Expo project, which at the end of the day is a React Native project that allows us to build applications for iOS and Android. It uses React, which is a framework for building applications. Basically, if you are not technical, you don't need to know about that, but just know that we are basically copying a template that Expo created. Now the thing here, very important to understand, is that this template was created for developers. So it's very bare bones, right? It doesn't have too much, and users of this template are expected to dive into the code and change things. Claude can do that for you, but as you gain more experience, you might want to use different templates. So for example, in my company, me and in my team created actually a template called Platano, and it's basically a template that will allow you to get started with basically a ready-to-use template for any application that you need. It comes with skills, so in case you want to learn more about it, I would highly recommend that you check it out. And if you want to start with the right foot, the application already works with Android and iOS, so make sure to check it out. The link is in the description. And by the way, we're going to use as well the free Figma design for the App Store and Play Store. It's totally free. We open source the styling, the Figma design, and we're going to use it for the App Store screenshots, which is a pain to generate. So that alone is going to save you a day at least. Just to show you quickly here, this is actually the template. When you initialize a project, this is how it looks. Already comes with settings. The users are able to change the theme. So if I come here and change my theme to be like an orange, you can see that the entire application updates. It already comes with payments integrated, nice paywall, and skills so that Claude can update it, right? It comes with gestures, zooming, depending on what kind of application you are trying to build. I would highly recommend to check out Platano. Now, that being said, Platano, the template is not free. So since I'm actually teaching you how to do this for free, let's create one using the free template from Expo. But it's going to require more work, but that's okay. So I'm going to name my app Budget Body Video. And this is my app, right? This should be Budget Body like that. Now I'm using dashes, no spaces. This is very important. It's a nice convention. So let's hit enter. Now, why I'm doing this instead of Claude, right? Because if you let Claude doing this is actually a waste of tokens. And we need to make sure that we have a strong foundation so that Claude code can work there, right? Claude could attempt to create this, but it's just gonna be worse. It's gonna spend a lot of tokens, and it could be using an older version. This is very important. So just do this. If this is the first time that you are working with the terminal, it's okay. Don't worry. It's not crazy, right? Just a couple of commands here in the terminal. That's all. Okay, and it's ready. And you can see that the template's actually suggesting, hey, you should now run cd. I mean, the same command that we ran before. So we can copy this part here, run it. Basically means change directory now to my budget body video folder. So, but we ran the command, we technically just created a folder with a bunch of code. And if you don't believe me, let me show you the Finder. Now in my desktop, you can see that we have my budget body folder. That's my app. That's where everything lives. Oh, and now my terminal, it's pointing to that same folder. So let's run clear again. All right, we are good to start. Now, there is a little caveat here. Let me actually come to this window and let's close it. I'm going to press Command T to open a new terminal, but now it's gonna be inside my budget body because I was in this folder here, okay? So I'm opening two. One is gonna be so that we can start the application. We have just the files right now, but we need to start the server. It's a server that will allow us to view our application and iterate over it, okay? Using something called ExpoGo, by the way. So ExpoGo, it's an application that you can download on your phone. So in the App Store, just go and search for ExpoGo. Should be the first result, this one right here. This is ExpoGo, and ExpoGo is a learning environment and sandbox for getting started, okay? This is not the real app. This is a sandbox. It's very important to understand that. So I have it in here. You can open it. By the way, I was playing around with an app. So if I shake my device, this is going to open this menu and I can press go home. But this is how it looks. Okay, super simple. This is ExpoGo. Okay, we have our terminal. We have ExpoGo installed. We created our project. We are inside the project. Now let's start the server by running the following command: npx expo start, and hit enter. What this is going to do is start the server, and it's going to show you this QR code. So on your phone, open the camera. You don't need to open ExpoGo, just open the camera directly and scan the QR code. Let's see how this looks on my phone. Let's scan it, and you're going to see this open in ExpoGo. So this is going to start loading the application, right? Super simple. Now we are connected from our phone. You can see this is the app that we are developing right now. This is the template. When you get started, we scan it, the QR code, we are connected. That means that any change that happens to the code is going to live reload the application so that we can see what we are developing, right? At this point, my friends, we are ready to spin up Claude Code. So let's go to the other terminal. This terminal needs to be running, okay? Let's go to the other terminal and let's run Claude. Hit enter. Let's trust the folder, hit enter, and now we are ready to start prompting. But before we do that, I actually recommend using some skills, agent skills. Now, if you're not familiar with agent skills, don't worry, I actually created a video explaining exactly what is an agent skill and how you can create an agent skill. But agent skills are basically markdown files or text files that tell Claude how to follow best practices. And there are skills for building Expo apps like the one that we are creating right now. So I recommend that you go to my website, check out the blog. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. I actually created a list of my favorite Claude skills. And these Claude skills allow you to build beautiful UIs. I recommend using this one from the Expo team. So just go to the blog, link in the description, copy, and then go back to the project. Let's go here. Okay, we actually have two terminals, Windows, busy right now. Let's go ahead and create a new one by pressing Command T. Okay, we are in the folder, we are good. Now, paste the command. This command is going to install the building native UI skill. Let's hit enter. Let's say yes by hitting enter again. And this is going to ask me a couple of questions. Let me move this a little bit so that we can see. So if you scroll here a little bit, it's going to tell you what agent do you want to install this for, and you can do arrow up and down and select more settings here, but we're using Claude Code. It's already selected, so just press enter. And I want to install this at the project scope. That means in the same folder that we have the project, okay? I'm going to hit enter twice, basically just the defaults, and that's it, okay? We install it, we get the message, everything went well. So once we have the skill, we can actually close this terminal if we want. We are not going to need it anymore at the moment, so let's close it. So now I'm going to ask Claude, how many skills do I have in this current working directory? Okay, and it found the skill building native UI. That means we installed it correctly. Okay, we are ready to start actually building the application, guys. And I actually want to explain something very important. And for that, this is gonna be a shameless plug. I'm actually writing a book for people who want to go from idea to the App Store using Claude Code. And just to give you a quick example here, I am basically gonna show you something very important. And if you're interested in the book, it's gonna be in the description. But we're going to steal a couple of things from the book right now, because we are about to prompt for the application, right? Now, prompting, it's the most important skill that you can have right now. Of course, you need to have some context on how the applications are built, how everything is going to work. I would highly recommend that you check out this book. It's going to explain everything for you. It's built, I'm writing it for non-technical people. It's not ready yet, but it's available for pre-sale. It's 50% ready, and you're gonna get an email once it's completed next week. So if you're watching this after a week, it should be done. But basically, this book walks you through everything you need to know about prompting, about how deploying to the App Store and Play Store works, and best practices, okay? So something very important is that you need to plan before you start building, okay? And you cannot just go to Claude and ask it to build an application. You need to be very detailed, right? But in order to prompt detailedly, you actually need to understand what the phone can do, right? What capabilities do you want to use with your application? And I'm not talking just about, oh, I already know that the phone has a camera, right? I'm talking about other features that you might want to use from the phone, like sensors, widgets, live activities, things like that, okay? So let's go ahead and create a plan for our application. So I'm going to copy this command here from the book, and I'm going to paste it in here. Yeah, and you cannot see it. Let me remove it, and I'm gonna do /plan. This is a command for planning before building, okay? And you can just do /plan and then paste the actual plan. So I'm gonna paste the lines. Basically, the line said, I want to build a budgeting application. It's called Budget Body. It needs one screen that shows daily and weekly spending in a chart, a list of recent transactions, and the ability to filter by category. No backend data store locally on device. Now, this is very important, especially if this is your first application. I don't recommend that you try to go into very complex features, things like authentication, things like database, things like payments, in-app purchases. All that is great, and most real-world application needs that. But if this is your first application, just try to build something simple. Try to get it on the store. Even if you want to charge for that, you can still don't integrate payments and sell it once you get to the App Store, right? Because some applications have in-app purchases. That means you can download the app for free and then pay inside the application, right? But to get started, even if you don't want to put this for free out there, you can charge, I don't know, $5 or $3 for your application, depending on what it does, okay? So this is the plan. That's my plan. I'm describing my idea, and I'm trying to be as descriptive as possible, okay? As detailed as you can be. So in this case, I'm saying the name of my app, what I wanted to do. I want to keep things simple, no authentication, no database. I want to save data locally on the device. Okay, so that's the plan. And now let's hit enter. Claude, it's actually going to plan. I'm gonna make a plan for this. And this is great because just by giving Claude this prompt, Claude is going to tell me, okay, this is how I can actually build the application. And then we can agree. This is gonna be a back and forth conversation, and you can catch details that you didn't think about your application even before Claude starts building it. Okay? So this is gonna take a while. By the way, I'm using high effort. Actually move this here. So if you do /effort, this is actually a command that you can use to set the effort for Claude. So how hard is going to think, right? And this it's also related to the quality of the output. I recommend that you use high for planning, okay? Because this is the most important part, the basics, the foundations of the project. That's why I recommend starting with a template that already comes with best practices baked in, like Plátano, link in the description. But as you get more experience, just if you already have good examples, good code examples, if you already have something that you created somewhere else, you can use that as context for Claude to implement it and follow the same best practices. Even if you are not technical, as long as you know that you have something solid, then you can keep prompting on top of that. Okay, so let's set this to high. It's already set to high, but just run that command if you want to set it at high as well. All right, and after a couple minutes, it took almost 3 minutes to plan all this because this is a fairly simple application. And by the way, depending on the number of features that you want to implement in your application, I recommend that you be as detailed as possible, but also try to keep the scope simple at the beginning. So 1 or 2 main features, okay? And if you are dealing with data, try to be as specific as possible about data. So the structure of the data, let's say transactions, right? In a budget app, what kind of data do you want to save on each transaction? Like the amount, that's definitely one of them. Maybe you want to save a tag, which is the category of the transaction, and things like that. You need to think about that and then tell that to Claude, okay? So let's check out the plan. Now, Claude is giving me like a proposition on how to implement this application, how to create it. It's gonna get technical. Don't worry, you don't need to understand the tooling that it's gonna use here. It's gonna use React Native, it's gonna use Expo SDK. That's okay, that's normal. That's the app that we are building. So don't pay too much attention to that if you are not technical, but if you want to learn more, about these things, just go and Google it or ask ChatGPT or Claude as well to explain it to you. So the important part here are gonna be, like I said, the data, because that's how you want your application to behave, right? And that is gonna be actually the foundation. It's like building a house. This is actually the mental model that I teach in my book. It's like building a house. You need strong foundation, and then you can do whatever you want on top of that. But if you don't have a strong foundation and you start building, the house is going to fall down sooner or later. So foundations means good data, good transactions, good core logic, okay? So this is what interests me. If you pay attention here, this is actually code, but anyone can understand this. It's just the shape of the transaction that Claude is going to be using, right? So you can see that each transaction is going to have an ID, an amount, a category, a note like launch at Chipotle, and the date. When did that happen, right? This is great. But this is actually the time, in case you are not happy with this is actually the time to tell Claude, you know what? Update the transaction. I also want to include an emoji for each transaction, right? That's something that you could do. Then the chart data, what is going to show? It's going to be the value and label. The label is going to be the day or week, and font color, like the color of the chart. Sounds good. Super simple. Then it's showing me the file structure, more code that we don't understand, and that's okay. We can keep scrolling down. Components, if you don't understand what's that, it's okay. Just know that I talk about it in my book. This is actually a very good topic to understand. Even if you are not technical, components basically are isolated pieces of code that you can reuse. And just knowing about that will help you prompt way better and have higher quality code, use less context, okay? So let's keep scrolling. Yep, let's keep scrolling all the way at the end. Here is where you can do arrow up or down to tell, to accept and start building, or make some changes, right? I can say, please add an extra field to the transaction. Include an emoji. And let's display the emoji in the views. Okay. And hit enter. So once we give feedback to Claude, it's going to plan again. But this is great because maybe you didn't like the plan, and it's okay because it hasn't started to code. Once you start moving around the code, reverting changes and making updates, it's a bit harder. Okay, so definitely take your time to plan, at least the first time. Okay, just take your time, have the perfect plan, and then execute. There we go. So it updated the plan. Now it's going to handle emojis. Okay, and we have a couple of them for each transaction, for each type of category. Okay, so let's scroll all the way down. We are happy. Let's say yes and auto accept edits just by hitting enter. And this is where Claude starts cooking. It's thinking with high effort, like I said before. So this is gonna take a while. Let's give it a moment. But as it's gonna make changes, we are actually going to see here, you can actually shake it to open this window and refresh, just to make sure that we are loading directly from the terminal. But as it makes updates in the code, you should be able to see it on your phone. As it makes changes, by the way, it might break a couple things, and that's okay. Okay, so it's going to start by installing some dependencies. So here you need to just be aware and say yes to whatever Claude says. So I'm gonna say yes and don't ask again. And by the way, it's done. Budget Buddy is ready. It's gonna give me like a summary of what it did. And now if we take a look at the app, it actually doesn't show anything. So let's shake it again to open the menu and press reload to make sure that, you know, it's loading directly from the server. And if we take a look at the server terminal, you can see that we are getting some errors, right? Something is wrong. So what I recommend doing here is just copy the error, pressing Command C, go with Claude and say, there is an error, and paste the error, hit enter. Now Claude is going to fix that for us. So as you notice, the application is changing as it's making the fixes, right? And you might get into this kind of states. So again, shake it. Oh yeah, shake it and reload. There we have it. That's our application. And a couple of details in the UI, as you notice, the title is like cut off a little bit at the top. Let's see if this is actually compatible with light mode. Ooh, I like it. This is great. So I can see the transactions. We only have one tab at the bottom. And then we can add a transaction here. This looks really nice. I can actually change the emoji. Let's change it. Hello. Save transaction. Oh, please enter a valid amount. 10. And it's even using the nice validations showing errors, and those are little details that we didn't mention, right? But it's also handling them. So the transaction for this, I don't know, transport, right? Or other, save transaction. And now I can see my transaction here. We can select and view transactions. We can change to be weeks versus days, and the chart is animating, which is absolutely crazy. I really like the UI, but if you want, you can iterate, right? So let's just go to Claude. Just one thing to keep in mind is the context window. As you can see here, I have this context window and it's showing it's showing information here, like the model that I'm using and the context. But if you don't see that, you can actually make Claude show you this by running something like this. I actually shared a tip on X on how to do that, so make sure to give me a follow on X. But here's a tip. You can just prompt status line. It's a command. So if you say status line space That's the status line. Then you can say, oh, show the folder, show the Git branch, show the model, show the context bar. You can show whatever you want. Then after that, you should be able to see the context. But if you don't want to do that, you can also run context. It's a command to visualize the current context. So you can see the tokens that we have used so far. It's important to notice that it's 36%, something that I recommend, especially in my book and every time that I do this type of videos, is that once you pass 50% of the context window, just go ahead and clear everything and start from zero once you are happy with the base, right? Something very important to keep in mind right now is that Claude has context of everything right now. And this is good because we might want to ask a follow-up based on the context that it already has. But once you are happy with the result, you don't need the context, right? So let's say that I want to change something about a transaction. You can do it right now because it has context on everything. But if you want to create a new screen, which is totally unrelated to what we're doing right now, you might want to start a new chat from scratch. You can start a new chat by just canceling this, pressing Ctrl+C, or just use the /clear. When I use /clear, boom. Now my context window is fresh, but we clear the entire conversation, okay? No more context. But it's okay. We're still working in budget body. So I'm gonna ask Claude, fix the title, budget body, it's card at, and use primary color orange for now, just to see how it's going to look. So this is how you iterate, okay? Hit enter. Notice that at this point, I'm not planning anything because we have a strong foundation, okay? The project is there. Claude is going to just figure out how it works. We don't need to explain anything. It's gonna figure it out and see how it works and what changes it needs to do. So it's trying to fix the text at the top, but it's actually not working very well. It's still cut off a little bit, which is weird, but now it's showing orange. That's how it looks. It's not bad. So I could keep iterating on the budget body title, a little cut off, but instead of wasting time on that, what I want to show you right now, it's how you can actually deploy this application, okay? We came this far. It's great. It looks okay. You can keep refining if you want, but the main functionality, which is adding transactions, seeing the chart, seeing 7 versus 4 days, it's working. So I think I'm ready to deploy version 1 of this application, okay? So let's see how we can deploy it. So if you haven't already, go ahead and create your account. We mentioned this is the option 1 for deployment. I already have my Expo account. You can just go to expo.dev, create your account. I already have mine. Once you create your account, you can go to the dashboard. This is how it looks like. I have a project, it's Platano, it's my template, by the way. Now, a good thing about using Expo is that it actually has agent skills. So if you go to expo.dev/expo skills, you can find these skills and in the commands to install them, right? So instead of actually running bunx, we can run mpx, which is the command that we ran at the beginning, okay? I'm actually when I come here and paste this in here, and that's the skill that I want to use is Expo deployment. Let's copy that. Let's paste it in here. And this is like the context for Claude Code, okay? I'm gonna say, please add this skill for deployment inside the current folder, because skills can also be installed globally, which will make them available in your entire computer, but I want to keep things isolated to this folder. So inside this current directory, let's hit enter, and Claude is going to install the skill for us. Okay, there we go. Now the skill is ready. And this is what it covers: building and submitting, which is what we want, right? Building in the cloud and then submit that to Apple. So we're gonna need our Apple developer account and then our Expo account. So just to make sure that everything is working fine, I'm gonna say list the skills available in this working directory. Just to confirm, but we already saw that it has access to it. There we have it. So we have now building native UI and Expo deployment. Once we have the skill, I'm going to ask Claude, help me deploy my app to the App Store, and hit enter. It's gonna use the skill. Okay, so it created the configuration and now it's asking me to run step 2 and 3. Okay, let's see. Let's come here. Step 2, install EAS CLI and log in. So run this in your terminal. Let's start by copying the first command. I'm going to open a new terminal by pressing Command T. We are inside the same folder. Doesn't really matter at this point because we are installing this globally. So let's hit enter. Okay, let's go back to the previous one. And now we can run EAS login. Let's copy, open the terminal inside the same folder, inside the same session. Let's just paste this in here, hit enter. Okay, now it's saying you are already logged in as Code with Beto / Beto. It's my account. What you need to do here is just log in. This is the first time that you are doing it. Just log in with your Expo credentials. I want to say no because I am already logged in. Okay, so let's run clear and I'm going to say EAS, who am I? This is actually a command that is going to let you know which account or if you are already logged in. This is my account. I'm using the free tier. Let's go back to the previous step. Now I need to initialize EAS by running this command. Okay, let's go back, paste it in here, hit enter, say yes. It's gonna ask me which org because my account is for an organization, but you should be able to see it without any issues. So I'm gonna say org, yes. And it's creating basically the project on EAS. And it's done. Now, something to notice is that if I now go back to my dashboard in Expo and refresh, this is my personal account, but if I change to my org, now as you can see, I have a new project on Expo, which is my budget buddy application. You can click on it and see more details. Let's go back. Claude asked me for these 2 steps, right? Run steps 2 and 3, paste back any outputs. So let's copy this. You don't need to actually copy everything, just the last couple lines. Done, seems to work. Now please deploy to App Store, hit enter. This is the thing, we need to run a couple of commands for Claude, and now that everything is configured, it should be able to handle it. Okay, and it's actually asking me to add my Apple ID and configuration about my Apple account, and actually that's because that's gonna be more work. What we can do at this point, once we have this configured, we can just run the following command. I'm going to clear the terminal and I'm gonna say npx TestFlight, just like that. Okay, hit enter. This command is going to deploy it to TestFlight. Let's see if this works. We get a little warning because we're using Expo Go. It's okay. And then it's going to ask me if my iOS application uses the standard except encryption. Just hit enter. We use the standard stuff, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. Now it's initializing with the build number 1. It's using, now we need to enter the Apple credentials, okay? So we need to sign in. This is the point where we actually use our developer account. So I'm gonna use my Apple ID. If you don't have an Apple developer account, you cannot deploy, but you can still, iterate locally. So how do you want to validate your account? I'm gonna say device, and I recommend using device as well. This is gonna actually show me a code in my phone, and I'm going to type it here, 71, hit enter. Okay, and this is a fairly common issue. This bundle ID is already used by me in a different application, so we need a different identifier basically. So I'm gonna go with Claude, and I'm gonna say, please change that. Let's use a similar one. This is just an example. Hit enter. And this is the kind of issues that you're gonna face, so let's be patient. Claude can help you in the process just by telling you what to run and how to do things, okay? Let's go back. It changed the bundle. As you can see, it's now different. So let's go back and rerun the same command, okay? npx TestFlight. Okay, here we go. Let's press enter my email. I am authenticated, so it's going to handle all the certificates and things like that. Hit enter again. It's going to ask you to create certificates. Since this is the first time that we're doing it, just say yes to everything, okay? Now it's uploading the project. Okay, and it seems that we have specified this field and it didn't like it. So let me copy the entire output. Let's paste this to Claude. I don't think we need the app ID. Let's see what it says. Okay, so it seems that it did something here in the iOS configuration. Let's go back and try again. I'm gonna run the same command. Hit enter, hit enter. If you notice, once I do this a couple times, it's not going to ask you a bunch of questions. So let's see if this time works. Okay, and after a moment, I get this error saying that it couldn't create a developer test. That's okay. Then it's asking me for an API key. So I'm just gonna hit enter. Let's see if this works. So this is the issue that I was mentioning. This is actually waiting for the build to get queued, and since this is free, right, it's gonna take a while. And I just noticed that if I went back to the Expo account, for some reason, I think the first time we created the build, if we click on builds here, the first one, it's actually in progress, I think. Oh, this one is waiting, okay? And the first one, this is actually in progress, build in progress, okay? So the first time that I ran the command, it worked, and now it's compiling the application. So let me actually go back to builds. And the second one, I'm going to cancel it. It's gonna take a while anyways, so let's cancel this build. Now we need to wait for the build to be completed. But once we get the build completed, we need to submit that to the Play Store. So yeah, this is the one that I canceled. So if I come back to the terminal, this is now canceled. And that's fine. Let's just wait for the build to finish, and then we can submit this build. I'll teach you how. And after a moment, you can see that the build was finished successfully. So we built the application in the cloud. Even if you don't have a Mac, it's okay, because Expo, it's Max to build the application for you, and now it's ready. This is the artifact. We can download it if we want, or we can just tell Expo to submit that to the App Store, okay? So if I go to my Apple developer account, where is it? Here, App Store Connect. Let me refresh to show you. Okay, suddenly I have a budget body video app. And this application was created by the command npx TestFlight, okay? But the command failed, but it kind of worked because it created the build and it also created the application on the App Store. And then I have other applications, but if we click on the Budget Buddy video app, you can always change the name, so don't worry about that. These are little details. So yeah, nothing here. And if I go to TestFlight, we don't have anything, okay? But the application was created, which is good. And the certificates are now associated to the project that we are working on. So go back to your terminal. Since we know that the build was successful and it's already on the servers, we can clear. And now I'm going to run the following command, EAS submit. Hit enter. I want to submit my app for iOS. Hit enter. I want to select a build that we have on EAS. First option, hit enter. This is the one. This is the build. 1 minute ago. Okay, it's the only one. You might see more builds if you created more builds. But yeah, this is the one that I want to submit. So let's hit enter. And now we need to sign in again. So let's enter our credentials. And now we are submitting to TestFlight. Let's wait a moment. So while the submission is in progress, go ahead and download TestFlight. If this is your first time, TestFlight is an application that you can download and basically allows you to install the application that we are submitting here. So before we publish the application, it's still available through the App Store for testing. So you can download TestFlight and then you should be able to test applications inside TestFlight, your applications. Or you can even have your family or friends or team download TestFlight and give them access to your Apple developer account as developers, and they can download the application. And this is gonna be like the real thing, but still is not published yet, okay? Just keep that in mind. It's worth noting that the npx TestFlight command kind of worked for me, but didn't work all the way. But that command was supposed to submit the build as well. So if that worked for you, you don't have to submit it again, okay? This is just in case the build was created, but then you need to submit it manually. You can always run EAS submit like we did here. All right, and the submission is done, okay? Let's go to the website. So at this point, the application was submitted to the Apple developer website, and now Expo is done. We don't need anything from Expo anymore. The submission is complete. Now we have to deal with Apple at this point, okay? So let's go to the Apple, not this one, I'm going to close it. Let's go to my App Store Connect account. Inside my Budget Buddy app, let's select TestFlight. And as you can see, now we have a new build. This is the build that Expo submitted for us. And now it's on the App Store. I mean, not publicly, but it's internally available for my Apple team, my Apple developer team. Okay, so how do we test this? So if you go to TestFlight, you're gonna see the new build. It's completed. And on the left, we have the internal testing group that was created automatically by Expo when we ran the command. But I think it didn't complete it correctly. It usually will invite the members of my Apple developer account, but you can always come here and press plus, and I'm just going to invite myself. So I'm gonna add myself as tester, and what this is gonna do is just send me an email to my phone where I can accept the invite to start testing the application. And here it is. This is the email. Of course, this is using the regular app icon. If you want to learn more about how to create things like the icon and stuff like that, I would highly recommend to check out my course, even if you are not technical. In my React Native course, I cover how to submit everything in detail to the App Store and Play Store. We have a section here called Publishing. And for the App Store, you'll find step-by-step details on how to submit, how to put the information for your application. But basically, you just need to now view this on TestFlight. This is why we downloaded TestFlight. So let's press this button this is going to open TestFlight and it's going to let me know, okay, do you want to install this app? Yes, I want to install it. Okay, so this is going to download it and I can open it. And this is the real thing. This is the real application that we created. And if I close it, you can see that it is now a standalone application. It's no longer inside ExpoGo. ExpoGo is only for development, and this app is going to work. It doesn't need to have a server like ExpoGo needs the server. The one that we have here, this is the real thing, and it works, okay? And yeah, you can start using it and start sharing it. Now, I actually wanted to cover how to submit it using Xcode, but this video is getting super long, so I would be more than happy to create a follow-up video. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments. But I just want to mention a couple highlights here. For example, on the App Store, what do you need to do next, right, to submit your application? You just go to distribution and fill the information of your application, which is a lot of info. But if you check out my course, I walk you through everything, even creating the preview and screenshots. But yeah, you just need to provide the info of your application. The screenshots, by the way, I recommend that you check. Again, just go to my website. There are so many resources here. Go to Plátano template, click on the free Figma. This is the design that me and other developers using Plátano are using to ship quickly. So if you check the preview here, you can select Apple App Store. And this is going to give you like a template where you can just replace the screenshots, export, and then you can drag them in here. Once you drag them in here, the size are correct. So you can just paste your screenshots of your app, change the text, and you should be good to go. This is how this would look like. Let me show you Inkigo, which is an application that it's actually making me money. It's doing $500 in monthly recurrent revenue. This is a real application. And if you don't believe it, let me show you the revenue cat dashboard. This is my AI tattoo application. It's making $482. And by the way, the source code is available for pro members on their resources. Inkigo, oh, this is my book, sorry. On their resources, if you want to have access to this code base, if you want to ship something similar, you can access it by becoming a pro member. Also, Inkigo was the inspiration to create Plátano, which is a template optimized for creating similar applications in case you want to target a similar niche. It already comes with payments and all that good stuff. But yeah, this is how it looks. Once you drag and drop the screenshots, just put the information of your application. It looks like this, and then submit it for review. Apple is going to review it. Usually takes like 1 or 2 days, maybe more, in case you have something complex. But for simple applications, should be fairly easy as long as your app is unique, right? From here, if you want to keep iterating, you would come back to Claude Code, add a new feature, prompt for the feature, and prompt Claude to update the version of your application. So you need to update the version. Also, if you want to change the name, ask Claude to change the name of the app. Then you're going to need to build again and repeat the process. Of course, I go into more detail in my book in case you want to learn more. If you are a beginner, if you're just getting started with building applications with AI, this book is definitely going to help you. The link is in the description in case you want to check it out. That's all I have for this video. I hope you like it. I hope you learned something new. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you get stuck or need help, join the Discord. We also have a newsletter where I share tips and insights on building and deploying applications. If you want to learn more about agent skills, check out this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.